However, she decided not to. And I'm like, girl, you about to ruin everything that you worked for just to prove a point. And the reason why I say that is because after all these opportunities that she had to just take down the video, she was too busy going on YouTube and talking about, I wipe my ASF with cease and desist, my ASS with cease and desist, and I ain't taking down nothing. And to this day, I don't think it's taken down. But she wanted to be so big and bold to her little YouTube audience, to her subscribers, that right now, from what I'm understanding, she is basically making a fool out of herself in court. From what I'm hearing, attorneys are unprepared. They had several things that they wanted to bring to the trial that got thrown out as far as evidence. And she's just looking like a fool out here. And I'm like, Tasha, all this could have been avoided if you would have just simply took the freaking video down. Okay? Just take it down. We are all in these YouTube streets. We all are into some form of media and things of that nature. So I get it. You get an interview. You're trying to build your channel. This looks like a good look, good opportunity. Why not interview the girl? I can even understand if you interviewed the girl and you're not necessarily believing everything she's saying, but hey, you're giving everybody a platform to speak their truth, their opinion. Okay, I can even understand that. But once Cardi B asked you not once, not twice, but probably several times to take this video down, me personally, would have taken it down. So now she's out here looking like a fool in the court, on these YouTube streets, everywhere. All because she wouldn't take it down. So lesson to all, my YouTube people, anybody who is trying to be a content creator, first of all, be careful what you put out. That's number one. And number two, if you do put out something that's a little bit sketchy, don't be afraid to take it down and say, hey, I was wrong, okay, and just move on. There's going to be another story. There's going to be another exclusive. I mean, we're living in the age of social media at this point, where everybody is here for a click and a view. I mean, you could interview anybody on Instagram at this point that's making a fool of themselves and put on your YouTube channel, and it'll get some clicks and views. So you don't have to hang on to an interview that was just bashing Cardi B. That's going to eventually cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. That's just my opinion. So okay, so moving on, we're going to also talk about Tasha K. Again, because remember I said I had 3 stories, and I said 2 of these stories involved one person. So we're also going to continue to talk about Tasha K when it comes to this whole Storm Monroe situation. So today, I was at work, and when I was on break, I was scrolling, and I was on YouTube. I'm like, oh, the mess have hit the fan. Storm Monroe and Tasha K done got into it. And it's happened all on Conscious TV. Matter of fact, go check out Conscious TV's channel, y'all. I mean, it lasted for like a good 5 hours. So, yeah, it was deep. Now, from what I understand, because I'm still watching Conscious TV's replay, because, again, it's 5 hours long. But from what I'm understanding is that basically, it all started with Vaughn. And I'm talking about Vaughn, who got with Latoya Forever from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah, Latoya Forever was with her husband. They broke up, and then she got with Vaughn. What does she call it? I forgot who she called Vaughn. her bestie. Yeah, there it is, her bestie. So her bestie ended up basically doing her wrong. She ended up, putting him on blast. And Vine ends up going to jail. So when he comes out of jail, he befriends Tasha K after an interview or whatever. Vine is at her house for Thanksgiving. And Tasha K asked Storm, hey, Storm, Chelsea, who Vine ended up getting involved with, who was Tasha K's, working for Tasha K, asked on Chelsea's behalf, hey, can Vine come stay with you until Chelsea gets her spot? Now, mind you, I do believe that Storm is a grown man and can make any decision that he wants. So if he didn't want that man in there, he didn't have to have him in there. But also, we have to understand that Storm is very naive. Let's just be real. From what I see on his videos, great guy, but he's very naive. And I felt like when it came to Tasha and the way he felt like, she basically put him on, it wasn't too much that he wouldn't do for her. So if she asked him to do something for her, he would have did it. So, okay, Tasha K asked him, can he stay with you until him and Chelsea get this place? He says, sure, whatever. So, with all this being said, him and Chelsea get into it, and it's just a whole lot of stuff going on. And then, at this point, Storm and Vine are, quote-unquote, getting close. And, Tasha don't want nothing to do with Vine because he done basically took Chelsea through the ringer. So she like, hey, yo, Storm, stay away from him. Stay away from him. And I'm like, Tasha. Now, granted, Storm is a grown man. But he's very impressionable. He don't have a lot of friends. And he know if you ask him to do something, he's going to do it. So now, because you're not feeling Vine, you want to be like, oh, stay away from him. And I get that sometimes you when you start seeing people for who they are, you want to warn the next person because, hey, maybe you didn't know. But you should have thought about that before you pleaded Vine's case so that he could stay with Storm. You didn't know this man from Adam. So, if you didn't know this man, why would you sit up there and plead his case so he can have a place to stay with Storm? That's all I'm trying to figure out. So now Storm is upset because his cars got stolen. And he feel like, I wouldn't even let this man in my house if it wasn't for Tasha. Because he feels as though Vine had something to do with his car being stolen. And he feels like I just said, that, hey, if he wouldn't have listened to Tasha and did Tasha and Chelsea this favor, that possibly his car wouldn't have got stolen. I can't say whether it would have got stolen or what it, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. Now, I will say this. Storm, you shouldn't have had him in your house. Secondly, Tasha, you shouldn't have been advocating for a man that you didn't even know to move into Storm's house. Let's just be real. Neither one of y'all knew this man. It's Tasha. You know that Storm is impressionable. I mean, at this point, he's like your younger brother because you're older than him. And I'm not trying to put age into it, but I'm just being real. You're older than him. You got more life experience than him. So you should have tried to kind of, I'm not saying protect him, but hell, if you don't know him, why are you going to bat for him with your employee? I mean, y'all saying y'all not friends, so I'm just going to put it as employee, okay? You going to bat on Vine's behalf a man that you hardly know so he can stay with your employee who you've known for years. And my thing is, it's like, okay, he let him in on your word because he trusts you and he wanted to help you out. And he was like, okay, I'm doing this for Tasha. Because again, it's not too much that I don't think Storm would do for Tasha, because Tasha literally put him on. You know, from what I'm hearing, you know, Storm wasn't monetized. He needed help with his channel to get money. He came out to Atlanta on a wing and a prayer. He met up with Tasha. Tasha got him on. She literally did her job. She really got him on, got him where he needs to be, where he can really, literally work for himself on these YouTube streets. No problem with that. Not at all. My issue is, okay, you know, because of your relationship in the past, via work or via the friendship, you know it's not too much that he will not do for you. So with that being said, you should have been more careful in who you were advocating for Storm to let in his house. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so to the last and final story, let's go to the GOAT. Now, I always call Tasha K the Wendy Williams of YouTube. So we can't end this video without talking about the GOAT, Wendy Williams, right? Okay, so let's talk about what's been going on, y'all. What's been going on with our girl, Wendy? Now, Wendy has been MIA. She's literally, honestly, been MIA since her birthday episode back in July. The last time we really seen, well, I ain't gonna say really, literally, we've seen Wendy Williams in that purple chair with her birthday episode in July. It was the season finale in July. So let's count the months, everyone. August, September, October, November, December, January. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months. 6 months with only pictures here and there. There was a video clip where she was eating in bed with her, that her son took. And then it was one where she was in Florida and she was living in a wellness center. And she said 2 words, which was when Wendy is doing fabulous. And when they asked her if she had anything more to say to her fans, she said lots more Wendy stuff. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about what's been going on recently. So what's been going on recently has been a lot, okay? We got, sources discussing things that happened basically, well, I'm not going to say basically, almost 2 years ago, back in 2020, May of 2020. The height of the pandemic, when everybody was doing their shows from home and everybody was shut down and people were scared and didn't know what the hell was going on. COVID had people, family members being carried out of the hospitals in body bags and things of that nature. We just didn't know. Well, back in May of 2020, it's been reported that, after Wendy appeared unwell on her show, staff members called her manager to go check on her, to basically do a wellness check. And he came over there with some other people, very close-knit circle who was also close to Wendy. And they found her in her birthday suit, inebriated, and she was pleasuring herself. That's how they found her. And when they saw her, she kept on, and she shouted obscenities to them, and they called an ambulance and the police to get her some help, and then she went into the hospital for a couple of weeks, and she was able to go home. Okay. Now, let's just start with that. And I'm saying let's just start with that because I honestly remember that situation. I do. I remember them not doing any shows at all. And then everybody was doing the at-home shows. And if you remember, this is when Wendy had access to the show's Instagram. And, you could tell she was kind of lonely and bored. So she did a few shows on YouTube. She did, yep. She did a few shows on YouTube. And I thought that was kind of funny. Matter of fact, all her fans were like, oh my God, Wendy is going back to radio. Wendy, maybe something is coming out of this pandemic because she's about to get on YouTube and she's about to freaking rip it, right? That's what they thought, okay? So, she did a few shows, and I don't know if you go back, because it's been, again, almost 2 years. If you go back, you may can see maybe not her at-home shows that she did with production, because that was a total mess. But she did a few shows just on her own, just kicking it, okay? You could tell that she had that DJ booth was there, and she had some help with the camera and stuff like that, because she was like, I need something simple. So she called Tristan over, which is her guy in tech, to help her. She wanted something simple that she can connect with her fans. I personally thought that was great, because Wendy does best when she feels that she can talk, especially talk to her people, okay? So, suffice it to say, she did a few of those that didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work. I loved it, but it didn't work. She was eating her food. People loved it. They called it a mukbang, but I think she was feeling a little self-conscious, so she was like, maybe I need something a little more produced. So they started doing the Wendy at home shows. Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, and I'm doing the timeline here to get to the point. So I know you guys feel like I'm dragging this, but I'm getting to the point here of what's going on. So, Wendy watchers noticed that, okay, when she did do the Wendy at home, did you notice that while every other show did a full hour of their shows from home, she only did Hot Topics? Now, I don't know if she did Hot Topics only because that was basically what her show was built on. So she really, and we weren't, her show wasn't built on celebrity interviews or anything like that. So that I can understand. But I did kind of find it strange that she only did a few, basically like the first 20 to 30 minutes. And then they would go into a repeat of a celebrity interview. The rest of the show would just be a repeat. And I'm like, okay. So right there should have been a red flag. I'm like, is she not capable to do a full hour? Okay. And that probably was it, because it's too much self-management that she would have to do that she probably wasn't capable of, So, eventually, in May, while she was doing that home shows, people were concerned. And again, like I said, she was undressed when her manager came there, and her people in her little small circle came there. She was inebriated. She was naked, pleasured herself, and she was shouting obscenities to them. I don't know if it's because she was out of her mind drunk, or it's because she was mad they interrupted her. Who knows, okay? So, at this point, they sent her to the hospital. And they covered up. They literally covered up with Graves' disease. At first they said, she's, having fatigue, and she'll be back to do the Wendy at home. And then they just said, you know what, forget Wendy at home. She's not coming back until the next season. I can understand that. COVID did a lot of things to people. It brought on depression. It brought on weight loss, weight gain. It did so much. People's mental health was, it did some for the better because they was able to reflect, some for the worse because they were isolated with their thoughts. So I wasn't mad that she decided that, okay, we're just going to wait until we can go back to the studio. We're going to start the new season off fresh. She even did a video stating that. And before she even did the video, there was a picture of her outside of her apartment when all this was said that, she got sent to the hospital. Because remember, when she got sent to the hospital, they just said it was Graves' disease. They never admitted what happened. It was Tasha K. So shout out to Tasha K, who told us back in 2020. Now, she may be going through this thing with Cardi B, but when it came to that Wendy Williams news, she was right. She said that Wendy was struggling mentally and was in the hospital. She gave us the name of the hospital and said that she was under an assumed name. And now all of this is coming to fruition. I believe that. Okay. So they go into basically the new season. And we see some days are good, some days are bad. Her mom passes, she takes another hiatus. Okay? Now, we get to where it's getting ready to, but, she comes back. She takes a hiatus because of her mom. She goes to Miami, I don't know what she did down there. I know she went to pay her respects. Supposedly saw her ex-husband while she was down there. Girl, do what you do. But however the case, she came back, whatever. Now, throughout that season, we cannot deny that she didn't struggle, but she made it through the season. Come 2013, I'm sorry, not 2013, come season 13, there's no Wendy. And everybody's like, where's Wendy? Where's Wendy? Honestly, I knew that there was an issue when they were like, oh, she's not doing any promos for the upcoming season. I'm like, that's not Wendy. We're talking about a woman who did flat out tours to promote her upcoming season. Flat out tours. Forget promotion. She would go to city, okay, where her demographic was, okay? So, when she wasn't doing promotional tours, I knew that it was a problem. And then when they kept pushing it back. And then they finally, stories coming out that, she sought psychiatric treatment. Then she had COVID. Then it was, it was Graves' disease. It was so much that you didn't know what to believe. And now we're getting all these crazy stuff, like I said, stories that came out in 2020. Now we got other news leaking from staffers who are saying that, some days she needs help getting dressed and eating because she can't remember. They do say some days are good. They do say that. They say some days are good. She's almost like she's back to herself, but then some days are bad. And at this point, I don't know what to believe because we haven't heard from her. But what I do know is that I do not like what I'm seeing, which is, to me, a smear campaign. And the reason why I'm saying it's a smear campaign is because everybody was willing to keep her secret while she was under contract. And I get it. It's a sense of, B, I need you to get yourself together because you're affecting my paycheck. People need to think about their livelihoods. And, people are saying, it's COVID. It's not a lot of jobs out there for production staff in New York for talk shows and things of that nature. So a lot of the staff are concerned about their jobs and therefore not having much loyalty to Wendy because basically she messed up their income. Now, I don't know if what's going on with her is self-induced or it's like alcohol and pills. And here's another thing. Why don't people think that alcohol is a drug? When you go in the comments when they talk about, she's a very bad alcoholic, and you get in the comments and they're like, oh, it's more than alcohol. Let me tell you something. Just because they sell alcohol at your local corner store, that doesn't mean that it does not have dire effects in regards to your liver, your memory, heck, your overall health. I mean, alcohol is a drug. It's just a legal drug, okay? So stop it with, alcohol don't do that. Yes, it does. Alcohol, when you're a severe alcoholic, you'll be surprised at how it can damage your body and your mind, okay? So, I understand that you guys are worried about your livelihood, so you're like, well, forget it. She's not worried about us and not trying to get better. They wish her the best, but at this point, they really don't have any loyalty to her. So if you ask, they're going to tell. It's how they feel. And to some extent, I get that, but another extent, I'm like, okay, you see, this woman is struggling. If everything they're saying is true, well, they're not saying everything. They're saying some of this is true. They're not saying that everything is true. Page 6 is saying that a lot of the staffers are saying some of this is true. So if some of this is true, then we know that at least she's having issues to where it's severe enough that she can't come to the show, which leads me to believe that it has a lot to do with her memory because, she's been relying on Norman. Been relying on Norman for the past 2 years. So for everybody that's like, oh, the decline happened so fast. No, it did not. If you watch the show, she's been relying on Norman and Suzanne. You know what I mean? But the thing was, they were just happy to be her cheerleaders as long as they had a job. And they don't have a job. It's basically like they're not kissing her ASS anymore. Excuse me, y'all. And it's like, okay, I can understand you don't have any loyalty, but it's almost like, okay, I was only nice to her because she was paying my bills. That's what it comes out. That's what it seems to me. I'm not saying you gotta sing her praises, but at the end of the day, at least keep your mouth shut. That's how I feel. At least keep your mouth shut. Because at the end of the day, we already know this woman is struggling. Whether it be from substances, which that's a disease too. And I don't understand how people don't understand that that's an illness too. Or whether it's just life where she's developing dementia or only sense of Alzheimer's. We don't know. But I just hate that, people are using this opportunity to just sing and like a canary, as they say. But anyway, y'all, let me know what y'all think about all these stories. It's good to be back. I'm glad we had this talk. Again, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, y'all. Peace and love.